Okay, Portugal, I hate to do this to you, but we have got to talk about these roofs, these clay roofs. Now, I have a really good shot right here of what is called a ruin in Portugal and what would be considered a regular roof in Portugal here in front of me. And then over here, continuing on what would be considered a functioning version of this roof. Now, it's up for debate whether this roof would be considered a functional roof in Portugal. Coming from Niagara, you can see the holes into the roof. You can see where it's sloping. You could see where water would be getting in if it rained. So in Niagara, where I'm from, and all the roofers there would agree with me that this is not considered a functional roof, and it's a failed roofing system. It is not as bad as the one over here with the clay shingles on it. That is clearly what would be considered a ruin. And you can see how the framework is underneath the clay shingles, and how there's no underlay of felt paper, ice and water shield, nothing. So they have their structure of eucalyptus tree or trees as framing, and then they will lay across from starting from the bottom and then do interlocking clay tiles all the way up. Now the locals have tried to convince me that this allows for the moisture and the heat through the various temperature differentials to escape through the roof, and they try to pitch it as something like a benefit. But I think, coming from Niagara, we're just not used to this type of just blatant failed roofing systems. This probably isn't even that old, which is ridiculous.
That side is old and this side is more newish.
Right. So the thing is, all these collapsed roofs, all these failed roofing systems, all these ruins, they're all going to wind up looking the same unless the underlying problem gets addressed. Because the underlying problem is they keep doing roofing the same way here, with just maybe newer materials. But the real problem is when it rains, this is not waterproof. And so what's happening is people like me, other investors, are coming to Portugal with money to invest, and they're buying ruins because with current local Portuguese laws, you can build inside of an existing ruin like something over there without having to go through a bunch of bureaucracy and paperwork, as long as you agree to build inside of the ruin, because that ruin is already approved. So you could build inside of that with a local comunidad. I might be paraphrasing and simplifying some of the local laws here, but my point is, so you start renovating inside of one of these ruins, and you get to the point where you have spent hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars renovating, but you're renovating and spending all of your money and time and investment under a roof like this. And you know and I know what's going to happen when it rains. When it rains, obviously this roof and many like it are going to leak. So it's going to leak and soak your drywall, soak your new construction, and you start getting mold and bacteria buildup all on the other side of your brand new renovated product. So what I'm saying is, wide-eyed investors are coming here and they're not really prepared for the temperature differentials or what's called the winter or the rain, and it's a quagmire. And so what I'm telling you, having seen from the Algarve to Lisbon, almost all the way to Porto, and what people are doing, what people are considering renovations, what people are considering ruins, I'm telling you, save your money and don't invest into a quagmire where you're building some brand new construction under a roof like that. You have to address the bones or the underlying structure of the building first before you start investing. So this is something that maybe most locals won't tell you. And honestly speaking, the reason that most locals won't tell you what I'm telling you is because this is exactly how they build roofs here. You can see with your own eyes, this is how they're building roofs here. So I'm just saying, being from Niagara, we take some things for granted, like quality building materials, like we take pride in our roofs in Niagara. Like everybody and their brother is a roofer in Niagara. So we know roofs, we know roofing systems, flat, pitch, gravel, tar, whatever, so we know how to do roofs here. But this is just a freaking quagmire, honestly. And I would caution anybody to avoid getting into a mess where you're renovating inside of a ruin because you want to bypass or curtail some local comunidad laws. And then you get hit on the other side when everything gets ruined because of a rain, which you didn't expect, because 300 days of summer, right? 300 days of sun in Portugal, but it does rain here. I mean, for the last week, it's been raining off and on. And honestly, I feel terrible for these people who have went through the scenarios that I just told you. And I'm not going to go further into detail, but I've seen it with my own eyes, and investors losing their investment and having to basically go back to the drawing board, which is of no consequence to the locals, because they're selling you products, new products. Again, they're selling you tradesmen, they're making money on the tradesmen that are going to come in if you can't do it yourself. They're making money on the products and building materials. So the locals are not going to tell you this type of stuff. And again, even if they could, they would be like, well, what's wrong with this roof? I've had a lot of locals be like, this is how roofs are done. What's wrong with this roof? So you're kind of like banging your head against a concrete wall when you talk to them about roofing quality. Except for the well-traveled ones, and they're not all the same. I mean, you can see here, there's a flat roof there, a failed ruin roof here, and then they're building like new roofs like that, and then this one obviously just a older version of this. They got a ruin right behind it. So keep your eyes open, fam, is all I'm saying, and be street smart. You'll see what Desiree and I decided to do, but it's basically after a crash course in learning all about Portuguese construction, the only way your boy knows how to do it, which is my way. The hard way? I don't know. I don't really consider it hard. It would have been hard if I got caught in the middle of a quagmire of that, renovating inside of something like that, and then having it rain and basically not getting caught with my pants down, being like, oh, I don't know, the roof, I assume that the roof would be waterproof. Like, unless it's brand new construction, or unless they're doing it differently with underlay or waterproofing membranes under these clay tiles, I hate to say it, but I don't think any of these roofs are quote unquote waterproof or rainproof. So from me to you, for whatever it's worth, you guys know I managed a roofing company for a while. My adopted dad still has a roofing company that probably goes from job to job, last I checked. So, it's not, my opinion is not worth nothing. But over there is Africa, and over there, they probably don't worry about this type of stuff. Just keep the heat off of you, right? Keep the heat off of you. That's what they're trying to do. Follow me on Twitter or X at adamjosh.com. Take care.